Okay, dear students, today we are going to study the topic this literary device, dramatic monologue. Actually, it is a poetic device. When I say that it is a poetic device, that means that dramatic monologue, this device is always used only in poetry. Okay, it is never used in essay, in novel, in drama or in short story. Whenever you will find this kind of device, you will always find it only in poetry. So now today we have to know what is dramatic monologue. Only very short questions, they are taken from this topic, and just try to know monologue. Okay, we all are aware of this dramatic. So later we shall come to this word. First of all, I just tell you what is monologue. This word can be divided into two parts, mono and log. Okay, mono means one, mono that is one. So in the examination, if you are being asked what is dramatic monologue, in brief you will first of all you will tell that mono means one and log means conversation. Okay, monologue, that is one conversation, or we can say one is speech. Monologue and dramatic. Why this is dramatic? Means that in that kind of poem which you call it is a dramatic monologue, that kind of poem always consists all the characteristics of drama. For example, in the poem you will find the character and even the dialogue delivery also. You will find there is a listener or there is a conflict, inner conflict. You will find most of the characteristics of a drama in the poetry. So this is why that we say it is a dramatic, right? And another important thing is that why it is called dramatic monologue, because there is a conversation of a single speaker, or there is a speech of only one speaker, and now the emotions, the passions or the thought presented in the particular poem don't belong to the poet. Okay, don't belong or are not related to the poet, but all those feelings, passions or thoughts are always related to only that speaker. What kind of speaker? That speaker that has been presented by the poet. And of course the speaker may be the poet himself, or the speaker may be imaginary most of the time, because it is dramatic. So the speaker is always imaginary character, right? So dramatic, that is that the feelings of this poem or that poem is not related to the poet himself, but related to the character. So this is why that the poem is called dramatic monologue. Okay, it is just like a psychoanalysis. Means when we go through a poem, we go through the character of that particular presentation by the poet. So we go through the inner self. We can say that it is a self exhibition, a self exploration of the characters. So there is only one character in the whole poem, and the character himself is the speaker. So just come to this one, dramatic monologue. What is dramatic monologue? It is a conversation. Okay, it is a conversation, or it is a speech, conversation of one character, because it is mono. So mono, that is solo, there is only one character, a single character, and when he talks or whatever he says, he talks to himself. Conversation of one character with himself or a listener. But okay, there may be or there is a listener. That depends on the poet whether there is a listener or not. But the most important thing is that the speaker will always be only one character. Okay, the speaker will be only the main character. For example, Tennyson's Ulysses was the speaker, and Rabbi Ben Ezra of Robert Browning, it was Rabbi Ben Ezra who was the main speaker. And My Last Duchess, there was also one speaker, and Last Ride Together. So you will find that there is only one speaker, and the listener may be his friend, his relative, and maybe any other person, but the listener is always silent. Okay, there comes no reaction, there comes we can say that no kind of any conversation from the listener. Means in the dramatic monologue there is always a silent listener, or sometimes it also happens that the speaker is talking to himself, means there is an inner conversation, an inner talk or inner exhibition. So if there is a listener in this kind of poem, the listener is always silent, right? So in the very short question that will be sufficient answer that dramatic monologue is a conversation of one character with himself or with a silent listener. So focus your attention on this word silent. And it is a poetic form, okay, as I have told you that dramatic monologue is a literary device, but it is a poetic device. A poetic device, it is always composed in poetic form and it is a poetic composition. It is, dramatic monologue is a speech of a single person, okay, single person again, that is there is only one character. And now dramatic, this kind of poem, dramatic monologue, it always has a dramatic touch, right? This is why that this monologue is called dramatic. So when we say that it has a dramatic touch, what does it mean? Means that dramatic monologue consists the feelings of speaker, okay, the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts or the inner self, each and everything is described only of the speaker, that single speaker. So this is why that it is dramatic in tone, and the speaker is, of course there is only one speaker, so the speaker is personae, the speaker is the main character, is actually a central character. As I have given you the example of Duke from my last Duchess and Ulysses, okay, Ulysses, character of Tennyson. So the speaker is a central character. So a dramatic monologue has all the feelings of central character, and it is also the expression of, as I have told you, that self expression, self exhibition, and it is also the expression of whom, of one poetic character, right, one poetic character, that is dramatic monologue. And it has the force or vividness of drama. So this is why that it is called a dramatic monologue. Means a dramatic monologue being a poetic device, okay, though it is a poetic device, in spite of that it has all the elements of drama, right? This is why that we say that it is dramatic. So it has all the elements of drama in it, the elements of drama. So now what are the elements of drama? For example, the elements of drama: plot, character, dialogue, and maybe there may be catharsis also, but especially we find here mental conflict. So in a poem you are finding there is a character, there is a silent listener, and the speaker is not silent, but the speaker is saying or expressing each and everything what he is feeling, that is his joys, his sorrows, his likes, dislikes, his dreams, his desires, unfulfilled desires or fulfilled desires. When he is telling, he is going on, okay, going on tell us each and everything. So we find that the particular poem is a dramatic monologue. And all these kinds of conflict also, mental conflict, okay, inner conflict, or the conflict that he is in a fix, he is in a paradox, to be or not to be, okay, what is right, what is wrong. So the character, though it is a poetry, it is a poem, but in spite of that we have all the characteristics of a drama, and mental conflict is very, very important for a drama, okay. So mental conflict is there. For example, Ulysses again, there is Ulysses again, and that is the last ride together. There was also a mental conflict. What is fit for us, who knows, okay, that was composed by Robert Browning. So this characteristic is very, very important. There is always a mental conflict. Emotional pressure means our central character is very passionate, he is very emotional, and in the emotional pressure, this is why that he is sharing each and everything with the listener. okay, or he is simply speaking to himself. So there is a mental conflict, emotional pressure in the character, and the poetic character, that is poetic character, single character, solo character, main character or the central character is actually a product of the poet's imagination, okay. That poetic character, that central character or that one character is a creation, is a product, okay. That is the creation of whom? Creation of the creator. According to Plato, who is poet? Poet is a creator, right. So that particular character is a dramatic character because that is based on the imagination of the poet. So you can say that is an imaginary character. So that was our dramatic monologue. If you want to go through this dramatic monologue in detail, though this question is never asked in long question, in short question, but it is always asked in very short question. So but I will suggest you to make more and more detail of this kind of topic because it is always asked in net exams also, in PGT, in TGT, even in competitive exams too, and you all must try to know what is dramatic monologue because most of the Victorian poets, they have gone through this, they have used or they have gone through all these kinds of elements of drama in their poetry. And this device was used particularly by Robert Browning. So what is dramatic in brief? Let me tell you. Dramatic, express the feelings, right? Express the feelings not of the poet. That is important, and never try to forget this line, that why monologue. In an interview also this kind of question is always asked, the dramatic monologue. Okay, mono means one, log means conversation or speech. So there is only a conversation of one speaker, but why it is called dramatic? So most of the candidates or students, they feel unable to express themselves that why monologue is called to be dramatic. So it is dramatic because it expresses the feelings not of the poet but of the central character, of the one character, of that imaginary character that has been presented by the particular poet. So this is why that it is dramatic, because it has a dramatic touch, it has all the elements or all the characteristics of drama, okay. And above you have been mentioned very well that mental conflicts and emotional pressure or inner self is presented. And why it is said monologue? Because there is only one person, and that particular one person speaks throughout the poem, okay, throughout the poem, and the others maybe and another person, maybe or not maybe, that depends on the mood, on the theme, on the plot of the particular poet. So the listener is always silent and they are not permitted even to react or to say anything, but they are supposed to be silent. When we say that there may be or there are few listeners or only one listener but the silent listener, so here we can say that dramatic monologue is just a kind of soliloquy, right? But soliloquy is not a poetic device. Soliloquy is also a literary device, but soliloquy is always used in drama. That is dramatic monologue. There is always a listener, but the listener is supposed to be very silent. So most of the critic or interviewer can again ask you, you can be asked in the examination that is there any difference between monologue and soliloquy? So we can say that dramatic monologue is also a kind of soliloquy in which a character expresses his thoughts, his feelings, and his passions, his desires, his dreams, without being interfered. Okay, as here the central character in the monologue is not interfered by anyone. The main character is supposed to be not disturbed, not interfered by anyone, because there is a flow of his expressions, of feelings, of his thought. So the same happens in the soliloquy. In the soliloquy also there is a character, and the character, he expresses his feelings, emotions, thoughts, desires without being interfered by any other character, But the difference we always find that dramatic monologue is a poetic device, a poetic composition. On the other hand, soliloquy is a dramatic device, okay, that is a dramatic composition. So what is monologue? Monologue because only one person speaks. So why it is said monologue? Only single character is there and there is only a single speaker throughout the poem, and the others, that is, what does it mean, the others? Other listener, they only listen to him. Who is this him here? Him, that is the central character, the main character, or the particular imaginary character presented by the poet. So dramatic monologue, what is dramatic monologue? It is a, so now come to the, if you want to write that what is dramatic monologue, a dramatic monologue is a poetic composition, okay, it is a poetic composition or it is a poetic device, okay, both words can be written in the exams. It is uttered, what does it mean that it is uttered? That is, it is spoken, okay, it is spoken by whom? By a character who stands in its center. Got? So in brief you can also write the same, central character. A dramatic monologue is a poetic composition and it is always spoken by a character who stands in its center, or it is always spoken by a single character who is the central character or the personae of the poem. So a dramatic monologue is a poem which consists of the feelings, experiences, okay, experiences may be sweet, may be bitter, and feelings of all kinds. If I say feelings of love, feelings of hatred, and even feelings of jealousy, feelings of insecurity, feelings of inferiority complex also, and feelings of doing nothing, feelings of inactivity in Ulysses, and in also that is the last ride together. So all those kinds of feelings, whether they are good feelings or whether they are bad feelings, right? My last Duchess, the feelings of the Duke for his Duchess, for his wife. So all kinds of feelings, experiences, views of a character hidden, okay, they were hidden. Where they were hidden? Inside it. So it is a poem which consists of the feelings of a character hidden inside it. Means when we go through a poem, a dramatic monologue, definitely we get aware of everything of that central character. What character he has. He is a good character, he is a bad character, he is jealous, he is feeling insecure, or he is ambitious, he is dreamy, he is active, or he is inactive, or he is a lover, he is a father. Means we come to know each and everything of that central character when we go through the whole poem. If you go through Ulysses, and you can never say that you don't know anything about Ulysses or you don't know anything about Duke. So this is the main characteristic of a dramatic monologue, that the readers, they get fully aware of the character of that particular speaker. Its poetic thought issues from the mental conflict, okay, mental conflict. All the thoughts, poetic thoughts, they come from the mental conflict and emotional pressure of the speaker, okay, the pressure that we find in the speaker. So all those things come from the speaker, and which are dramatic elements. So this is why that it is called dramatic, okay. All the above characteristics, all these are the elements of drama, and this is why that this poetic device is called as a dramatic monologue. It is uttered by a single person, okay. So this answer will be sufficient. In very short you can write like this, okay, that will be sufficient. And if by chance, if you are being asked, write a short note on dramatic monologue, okay, in short question, that your answer will be only that is a dramatic monologue, okay, from to here. Dramatic monologue, it is uttered by a single person, so it is called dramatic monologue, okay. That will be, these lines will be sufficient. And now just go ahead. it is part drama and part poetry, dramatic monologue. It is a poetic device, but in spite of that we can say that it is half drama and half poetry. It is both. It is also a drama because it has all the characteristics of drama, and it is also a poetry because it is used as a poetic device. It is a poetic composition. So a dramatic monologue is both. It is also a drama and it is also a poetry, and it is cast in the form of a speech. It is always cast or presented only in the form of a speech, okay, because it is monologue. So when a poet starts to compose, or he starts to compose his thoughts, he takes his theme and then he gives that theme or molds it in a poetic form, just like a dramatic monologue. So he always gives the shape of his poem just like a conversation, okay, of a speech addressed to a silent listener. So now what is the main purpose? Now this is also very important question, that what is the object, what is the main purpose of a poet to write these kinds of poems, to use these kinds of device as dramatic monologue. So its aim is, okay, that is very important, most important, that the aim of dramatic monologue is psychoanalysis. That when the poet desires to make an analysis of the psyche of his character. So it is a character study, or it is a psyche. We can say that we want to be aware of the psyche of that particular central character. So its aim is character study or psychoanalysis. The person who speaks is made to reveal himself, okay. The person or the central character is supposed to express himself, his inner self, and so we can say that it is a character study. Means it is a study in character, which is one of the main function of drama, okay. The main function or the main purpose of our drama is to study the character. So we can say here that it differs from the drama. Why? Because in its complete lack of action. So we can say here that if this dramatic device, there is no difference and between drama and poetry, it has all the elements of drama. So why the poet is not taking a dramatic device, why the poet is using a poetic device? So he is giving this his thoughts only the shape or the form of poetry. So the reason is that soliloquy, or there is not a lack of action in drama, but in dramatic monologue, in poetry, we always find a complete lack of action. So here we can say that a poetry is dramatic because it is the speech of an imaginary character, and not of the poet himself, but it lacks action, okay. And action, there is always found action in drama, but in poetry there is no action. So this is also very important. A poem can be a dramatic monologue only when the speaker has some spiritual conflict. Because it is a psychoanalysis, it is a character study. The central speaker is revealing himself, his thoughts, his ideas, his feelings, his joys, sorrows, likes and dislikes, each and everything he is going to express of himself, related to himself. So this is the reason that mental conflict, if we talk of mental conflict of the central character, that is a spiritual conflict, especially if that particular character is going through the inner conflict or the spiritual conflict, which is a combination of self exhibition and self exploration. So dramatic monologue can be based on these two words. They are very important because it is a psychoanalysis. So self exhibition means inner self is going to be revealed, and self exploration. Actually here self exploration we found in Ulysses. When Ulysses, he was not happy sitting at home doing nothing, and he was not enjoying the life of inactivity, but he wanted to do something in his life even in the old age also. So that he wanted to explore. When the character want to explore or want to make a discovery, he want to know who he is, where he has to go, what he has to do. So there is an exploration, inner exploration or self exploration or self exhibition. So this is why that there is a mental conflict and spiritual conflict that is within the central character. Its fulfillment also demands the presence of an audience. Presence of an audience means there may be a listener, that listener may be real or imagined. So where these things are absent, the poem is not a dramatic monologue, right? So that was our dramatic monologue. It had dramatic monologue, it had its origin in ancient Greek tragedy. It depends on you whether you want to write or not, but just try to get aware of all these points also. It had dramatic monologue had its origin in ancient Greek tragedy, and in England it appeared as a long soliloquy. Okay, soliloquy in drama. In which drama? In Elizabethan drama. For example, we find the use of soliloquy in the dramas of William Shakespeare, especially in tragedies. William Shakespeare's his soliloquies are also very famous, and during the Victorian age we found Robert Browning, and he was called its chief exponent of dramatic monologue. So William Shakespeare is known for his soliloquy, and Robert Browning is especially known for his dramatic monologue. And then there came Tennyson. Tennyson also used this poetic device in his poem, and he also got name and fame. And there we can say that their dramatic monologue, it cast an indelible impression on its reader, right? So this was our dramatic monologue. Actually, dramatic poem is both. It is a dialogue and it is a poem also. It is not only objective or it is not only subjective, but a dramatic monologue may be both, right? Personal or impersonal, objective or subjective. So it may be both. The characters use a poetic way of conversation, and character study is the main purpose of the writer or the poet of dramatic monologue. If you are being asked in the exams, write down some poets of dramatic monologue or give some example of dramatic monologue. So you can give the example of, first of all, as I have told you, of Robert Browning. Okay, Robert Browning, Rabbi Ben Ezra, and My Last Duchess, and The Last Ride Together, and Tennyson, of course Tennyson, Ulysses. And you can also give another example of John Donne, A Valediction Forbidding Morning. So these three examples will be sufficient: Robert Browning, Alfred Tennyson, and John Donne.